The Civil Rights Movement was a decades-long struggle to fight legalized racism against African Americans, racial segregation, and disenfranchisement. The movement aimed to acquire protection of African American rights under the law. Systematic discrimination and racial injustice against African Americans was extremely prominent in the decades leading up to the Civil Rights Movement. The previous era saw the rise of the separate but equal ideology. In 1896, the Supreme Court ruled in Posey v. Ferguson that segregation was lawful and justified as long as the facilities were equal. But of course, they were not. This doctrine would stand for 6 decades following the court ruling. Laws were established to separate black people from white facilities under the name of the Jim Crow laws. They were named after a black cartoon character and denied black Americans the right to hold jobs, vote, access education, and several other basic rights. The law marginalized African Americans, creating a system of racial discrimination. Black Americans were victims of vicious racism and violence. In 1955, a young 14-year-old boy, Emmett Till, was murdered in a racist act of aggression. This event was a catalyst for the Civil Rights Movement. Additionally, Rosa Parks was a notable figure in the movement who inspired protesters and activists in the 60s. In 1955, Parks refused to give up her seat to a white man on an Alabama bus. This action sparked the year-long Montgomery bus boycott. The boycott only ended after the integration of Montgomery buses. The protest of Parks and the others led to the ruling that segregated seating on buses was unconstitutional and violating the 14th Amendment. The change which was evoked by this protest sparked a culture of protesting in the 60s. On the 1st of February 1960, 4 young black men refused to leave a whites-only restaurant, Woolworths. Inspired by the peaceful protest methods of Gandhi, Ezell Blair Jr., David Richmond, Franklin McCain, and Joseph McNeil started the Greensboro sit-in. This was an extremely influential event and led to the commencement of several other sit-ins across the nation. Sit-ins inspired protests internationally, including the Freedom Rides in Australia, which fought for the rights of Indigenous Australians. All of these events brought the cause to the attention of people across the world. By February 5th, 300 students had joined in on the sit-ins, and as a result of this, dining facilities in the South became integrated by the end of summer in the same year. 3 years later, the March to Washington occurred. The political rally occurred in Washington to raise awareness and fight for the jobs and freedom for African Americans. The rally was attended to by over 200,000 people and was organized by a number of civil rights and religious groups. The march was attended to by Dr. Martin Luther King, who gave his famous I Have a Dream speech. The speech culminated the struggle for civil rights and racial equalities. Luther's activism also inspired activism in Australia and pushed people to fight for the rights of Indigenous people.